Okay, my name is Evan, and this is the fourth in a series of videos on the subject of expungement in the county of Kern. If you're watching this video, you've likely heard me mention this before because you'll watch the first videos on what expungement does, whether you're eligible, and how you fill out the forms for it. But this is meant to be a supplement to your research on the subject. Don't feel like this has to be the last word you hear on how you get your record cleared. This is just going to be an information guide that is provided for residents of Kern County. Please don't construe this as legal advice. This is intended to be an information supplement for you when you are looking for info on how to clear your criminal record. So with that said, I want to show you where you can find the information that we're going to go over today. This is the Kern County Law Library's webpage. And when you're on our homepage, you go to our self-help menu, and you can go down to the page on how to expunge your record to access the materials we're going to talk about today. So the first thing we're going to do when we visit the page is go down to today's presentation, which is how do I serve and file my paperwork, and look just below so that you will know that you can find the resources that are mentioned during the presentation right here. And after I've gone through the slideshow, I will exit and show you the resources that are linked in here. But for now, we're just going to go to the slideshow, which is how do I serve and file my paperwork? So want to make sure that there are a couple of things that are clear here. This is a video that is designed for after you have filled out your forms. So if you have not yet done that, you should check out the video on how to fill out your paperwork. Next, we're going to cover what you do after service has been performed. And then we're going to go over some other just miscellaneous things at the end, what else that you should know. So during this presentation, we're going to be talking about the district attorney and probation department. So whenever you see DA, that means district attorney. Whenever you see PD, that means probation department. So they are two bodies that need to receive copies of your forms, your CR 180 and 181. DA and probation both get copies of your forms before you file your original forms with the court. So remember that the court always gets the original forms to be part of the court record, and photocopies are distributed or served on the district attorney and probation department so that they have notice of the hearing and they know exactly what to expect. So you do have some options on how to get them their photocopies, and you may not even need to use any additional forms. So let's go over what your options look like. First, we're going to go over this important distinction. Some people get confused on the subject of what order things happen in. So just to be clear, you are going to have the DA and probation department served before you can file your paperwork. Before you file your CR 180 and 181, the DA and probation must be served, in other words, delivered photocopies of the documents. So you have options on how to get them their photocopies of your documents, and we will go over option one now. So option one is called counter service. So the DA and probation department are accepting counter service again. This presentation is taking place hopefully at the tail end of the pandemic, but during the worst of it, the probation department and district attorney were not accepting counter service at their locations. Just because the distancing requirements kept them from having an open office. But the DA and probation are once again accepting counter service. And this means that you or someone else can visit the counters at their offices and hand them photocopies of your paperwork. Once you've handed them the photocopies, they will stamp your original paperwork to show that they received their copies. So if the DA and probation stamp your paperwork, you are done filling out your paperwork. You don't have to fill out anything else. That stamp is going to show the court that the district attorney and probation department received their photocopies. So in other words, the stamps themselves are proofs of service. So if you're confused on what proof of service means, it just means exactly what it sounds like. It's proof that service has been performed. In this case, that the DA has been served and the probation department has been served copies of your CR 180 and 181. Your other option is to have someone serve your forms for you. So if you choose not to use counter service, you can also have someone other than you who's 18 or older serve, or deliver copies of your paperwork to the DA and probation department. So there are several methods of service which can be used. And as I mentioned before, we have lists of how that can be done on the web page. So I'm going to show you where you can find those resources so that if you want more information about these alternate forms of service, you'll know exactly where to find them on our website. Now, I want to make a note here that what we talked about in the previous video, that you'll need to attend your hearing. This can be complicated for somebody who lives in another county or another state. So this is a part of the presentation that will be particularly relevant for somebody who is living in a different county or a different state, who wants to be able to serve the district attorney and probation department copies of their paperwork, but it might not be convenient for them to walk directly into their office. So let's go over the other methods of service which can be used. So again, the DA's service information can be found on the web page where you found the slideshow. The probation department accepts service by mail and by fax, in addition to the counter service we already went over. And like I mentioned, I'm going to show you on the website where you can find the specific information for how you can complete service using these methods. So as a reminder, if you use counter service, the stamps the DA and probation department put on your original paperwork is your proof to the court that they got their photocopies. No further documents needed. But if you use another method of service, your server is going to need to fill out a form, and it's called a proof of service. And it tells the court how the district attorney and the probation department got copies of paperwork. So this is a note that I'm adding just because people ask about this pretty regularly. The probation department and DA do not need to receive a proof of service. They don't need it because the proof of service is for the court. The court needs proofs of service to show that service was performed, or they will not file and schedule your petition in order. There is no way for them to actually put the hearing on the calendar without proof that the parties who needed copies of the paperwork got them. So only after your server has completed service, they should fill in the information on the proof of service form so the court knows by which method the DA and probation got copies of your paperwork, on what day, and from whom. So I know right now this sounds a little bit kind of abstract, but we're going to actually show you what that means in this presentation. We're going to do that by showing you a proof of service by mail. I recall that I was just mentioning some people want a petition for this, but maybe the only day they can be in town is for the day of their hearing. So maybe they want to mail their paperwork to the DA or the probation department. So if your photocopies are served by mail, the reason we're showing you proof of service by mail is there's a special rule. When you schedule your hearing, you have to set your hearing for an additional 5 calendar days out so that the mail has time to arrive. So if you're in Fresno County or Stanislaus County or wherever within the state of California, if you're mailing your paperwork, you're going to set your hearing date 5 additional days out so the mail has time to travel. And then if you're outside of the state of California, you'll add 10 additional days. So if your server uses a different method of service, look on the California Superior Court website for the right proof of service, and I'll show you how to find that as well. So this is what a proof of service by first-class mail looks like. And first-class mail is just the US Postal Service. We just drop a letter in the mail. So if that's the method you use, this is the proof of service for you. If it is not the method that you use, again, I'm going to show you the California Superior Court site or California Judicial Branch site where you can download the appropriate proof of service form. And of course, you can always ask the law library for a copy if you need one. So this is how you fill out the top portion of page 1 of the proof of service. It should include your contact info in the top left corner, and it should match exactly with your CR 180 and CR 181. This is your case, even if you're not the one that's serving the documents. So in this corner of the paperwork, you're going to put your contact information, which includes your first and last name. It's going to give your mailing address, your phone number, email if you have one, and your attorney for your stuff. So you also have to make sure that you fill in the information for the court on the proof of service. So on those CR 180 and 181 forms, They don't have this information to fill in right here for plaintiff and petitioner and defendant, because in criminal cases, the plaintiff's always the people of the state of California. So you're going to have to fill in people of the state of California for the petitioner or plaintiff spot here, and your name will go into the defendant. So keep in mind, this is just an example. I'm going off of this example because downtown Bakersfield is the most commonly trafficked court in the Superior Court system in Kern County. So I'm just going on sheer numbers here. More likely than not, if you're in Kern County and you're looking to expunge a case, it's going to be in Bakersfield. So I put the location for both the misdemeanor and felony court here. If your case was in Shafter, Delano, wherever, this is not going to be the address that you put. So make sure that it matches the correct address for your matter. So in all criminal matters, again, plaintiff is people of the state of California. You're the defendant. Make sure to include your case number, and your work is done on the proof of service. The rest is going to be completed by your server. So the person who actually mails the copies of the CR 180 and 181, it is their job to fill out the rest of this form. So in paragraph 1 here, where it says I'm over 18 years of age and not a party to this action, nothing to write there. That's just a statement that your server is going to sign off on. Next up, they're going to put their residential or their business address in paragraph 2. Then this is really important for paragraph 3. The server needs to write the date that they mailed the paperwork, not the date that they filled out the form. So if they mail this on January 1st, but they fill out the form on January the 31st, they're going to put January 1st because that was the date that they mailed the forms. And they're going to put right here the city and the state that they were in when they mailed them. Next up, this is important too. The following documents are what were mailed. So you want to specify. Right here, it gives you room to write the exact titles of the documents that were mailed. So if you're going to use the proof of service, use it accurately and make sure to put the exact titles of the documents. Don't put paperwork or don't put expungement documents because you have to specify exactly what got served. So your server is going to have to check one box or the other for paragraph 4. So for the purpose of almost anyone viewing this presentation, if you're just having a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a coworker, whomever, if you're just having someone else just drop the thing in the mail and send it off, paragraph 4 is going to be box A. Box B is more in line with if it's a law firm that has regular business practices and a mail system. But if you're just having someone mail this for you as a favor, it's very likely going to be box A that's being checked. Finally, you have to make sure that you put in to whom your paperwork was sent. So the name of the person served, Kern County District Attorney, is our example here. And their address is 1215 Truxton Avenue, 4th floor, Bakersfield, California, 93301. So they have other locations, and I'll show you where you can find that. If, for instance, this is a Shafter case, you can mail yours to the Shafter District Attorney. This is just an example. Yet again, I want to point out that it's an example. Make sure that the information on your forms matches specifically for your case. Frequently asked question that comes up here. When we're talking about the recipient here, people ask all the time, can I just do one proof of service for the DA and probation? No, it's just full stop. You have to do one proof of service for each, and you should not staple them to each other because these should be their own freestanding documents that tell the story of how the documents went from your server's hand to the Kern County District Attorney in one page, and then on the next separate proof of service, how it went from your server to the probation department. Few final notes. Have to remind you here, if your server gives the district attorney and probation department your papers by mail, you should add 5 days to the 15 you count when you're scheduling your hearing, so that the district attorney and probation department have time for the postal service to get their copies to them. And remember, if you're mailing from all the way out of state, it's an additional 10 days. Next up, you must file the proofs of service with the court along with your original CR 180 and CR 181. So again, original meaning the ones that you created the copies from. So the ones that you actually filled out, the first ones that you made all your copies from, those are your originals. And those are going to be filed right alongside with the proofs of service if you need to use the proof of service documents. Finally, the server should be someone else over 18. Again, that's if you're not using counter service. If you end up using counter service where you just walk into the DA's office, hand it to them, and they give you a stamp on your originals, there's no proof of service form. But if someone else is going to do your service for you by mail, by email, by fax, then it should be someone else over the age of 18. Find anyone, neighbors, friends, family, acquaintances. They just have to be over 18 and not named as a party to the case. So we've tried to condense everything down to just 3 steps here. So you're going to fill out your CR 180 and 181, have copies of them served on the district attorney and probation, and then you must file your original CR 180 and 181, and if necessary, 2 proofs of service with the appropriate court. When it comes to filing your documents, I want to point out, again, this is being filmed in the middle of the pandemic. So the best thing you can do to confirm how to file your documents is to contact the criminal department where you need to file and ask them how to do it. The clerks are there to assist you with information on how to file your documents, so they should be able to explain clearly how to do it. And failing anything else, though, every courthouse has a drop box for hand-delivered filing, so you can always drop your documents off directly in the filing drop box. And each courthouse also accepts filings by mail. So no matter what the access level is to the courts in person, you can always mail your paperwork in. There's always going to be a lobby drop box for hand-delivered filings, but there are also some temporary measures, and I want to stress temporary, and that this is unlikely to be permanent because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the clerks of court may also accept your filings via email or fax. Once we receive word from the clerks of the criminal departments that no longer is there an option to file by email or fax, we're going to update the information on our webpage. But as of the time of this recording, there is still the option to file your criminal documents with the criminal departments in Kern County by email or fax. And I'll show you where you find that information on the Law Library's webpage. So again, contact the criminal division in the courthouse that you're going to be filing your documents in to confirm details. They are there to assist with information like this, so don't hesitate to call them. And the Kern County Law Library, again, also tries to keep its instructions on this as up to date as possible, but it would be a shame to go to all the trouble of filling out your forms and getting all of them served, only to try to file by fax and find out that there was no way to do it because the policy changed a week ago. So if you have even a moment's doubt, call the criminal department where you want to file. Make sure that they are still accepting filings in the format you want to use. No matter what, though, you can mail your paperwork to the court or you can do the filing drop box in the lobby. But if you want to use email or fax, I definitely encourage you call the criminal department to confirm you can. Last but not least, and I stress not least, you should attend your hearing. Go to your hearing on the date that you scheduled it, unless you are represented by an attorney who specifically tells you that you do not have to. So again, I repeat, go to your hearing. Don't select a date for your hearing there you can't arrange well in advance to have available. And even though the hearing time may state 8:30 a.m. or if it's another court, maybe 9 a.m., you should be prepared to spend at least half a day at the court. So don't ask for 1 hour off of work. Don't arrange to have someone watch your children for 1 hour. If you set this hearing, you should expect to spend half a day at the court. You may not have to, but it's better to be prepared and have the extra time available just in case your hearing does not start at the scheduled time. So I'm going to exit the slideshow now to show you some additional information on the Superior Court, or rather the Judicial Branch page, and on the Kern County Law Library page. So if you need to get blank proof of service forms, there are a couple of ways you can do it. On courts.ca.gov, the same place where we got our paperwork to fill out the petition and order, if you need forms, you just click on the link in the center of the page that says forms. And to find proofs of service, every form from the California Judicial Branch page has a set of letters and numbers to help you find it. So all of the proofs of service starts with POS. So if you need a proof of electronic service, you can find it here. If you need a proof of service by first class mail, you can find it right here. And some people point out, but it says civil on this. That is okay. You can use these. The clerks of the Superior Court in Kern County accept these proofs of service. They just need to know that the district attorney and probation department received their copies. They're not going to reject the form simply because it says civil. This is meant to show the court that the appropriate parties got their paperwork. So they want to make sure that they are accommodating. So just because it says civil, don't worry, you can still use this form. Finally, I want to go over some information that's on the Kern County Law Library page, just so you know that you can find this information and have it available for you. So let's suppose you have a case in the Delano court and you don't know where the probation office is. You can always go to the kernprobation.com page that we link to on the Law Library webpage to find the Delano office and its contact information. So if you need to contact anybody other than the probation department in downtown Bakersfield, you can go straight here. Back to the Kern County Law Library webpage. There's also information about the district attorney that we've confirmed is still up to date as of this recording, which is February 2022. Again, I encourage you, if you have questions about how to get these entities served, you can contact them and confirm what methods they're currently accepting. But if you're in downtown Bakersfield and you want to perform counter service, go to 1215 Truxtun Avenue on the 4th floor. This is where the Kern County District Attorney's office is located. You can walk in, hand them a photocopy, and they can stamp your originals, just like we talked about. So we have all of the different locations for the District Attorney's offices in Kern County, and we have some frequently asked questions. We won't go over those at this time. You can have this document available for review anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet access and can go to the Kern County Law Library's webpage. Finally, I mentioned that on the Law Library's webpage, we have the instructions for how to serve the district attorney and probation department with their full addresses. So if you have a misdemeanor case in Kern County, go to this link that says misdemeanor expungement instructions, click on it. And we have a full section about the probation department's contact information to serve by fax, to serve by mail, to walk into the office and serve them that way. The district attorney's information for service, including all of its mailing address, its fax, its email. So I want to point out that if it's a misdemeanor case, there's going to be a different place that you file your paperwork. So after you've taken care of serving probation and the district attorney, if you're filing misdemeanor paperwork, you can file your CR 180 and 181 in the following ways. You can do it by mail. You can file them in the Dropbox, not at 1215, but at 1415 Truxtun Avenue. Disregard the 1215, it's at 1415. And the email address and fax information are right here. So keep in mind, not 1215, 1415 Truxtun Avenue. And it is going to be also displayed here, the fax and email information. If you had a felony case that you're trying to have expunged, you just click on that. Same thing, it has the probation and district attorney's information here for how you can serve your paperwork, and then the filing instructions right here for felony paperwork. And this is accurate. 1415 Truxtun is the address for both the misdemeanor and the felony department now. So all filings will go to 1415 Truxtun Avenue. And by the time that this video is posted, the misdemeanor instructions will be updated. So this is where we're going to sign off, because everything that you will need in order to wrap up the process of serving and filing your paperwork is going to be here on the Law Library's webpage. So again, If you have any questions or want to chat with me about the process, we do still have a workshop that you can register for that's held on the first and third Friday of every month. So if you click there to register, you can sign up. It is currently being held via Zoom. It is free to attend. So if you have any questions after having watched this video, feel free to join us at that workshop or contact us at the Kern County Law Library at the following points of contact. So we'll go to our homepage to just sign off by saying that you can email us or you can call us if you have any follow-up questions on these topics.